Welcome to the Retro Junkion.
Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, so today we are going to take a look at the Rev A C64 board. If you watched the last video where I showed the stuff that I got, this had a bunch of heat sinks all over it. I went ahead and took them off. They're right here. And then I also cleaned off all the chips that had thermal compound on them. The VIC, the SID, the PLA, the processor. And this ROM, can't remember what it is, if this is basic or if this is the character set, I don't remember. However, this one is the kernel, and I went ahead and read it out, and it had, the guy that owned this, he had a company called UNI Electronics. You can read that there. And his buddy, the one that I actually got the stuff from, said that they used to modify the C64 sometimes to say like their names instead of, you know, Commodore Basic V2 or whatever. And in fact, this is one that they did that to. So they put this EEPROM in there, and they changed the boot up message from Commodore Basic V2 to it said something like "Welcome to UNI Electronics. Have a seat and enjoy." So I read that out. It seems to be intact. I don't know for sure because I can't run like a I can't verify the chip to a real kernel because it's gonna fail. It's different. But it looked okay. Excuse me. But what I want to do now is I want to check voltages first off, just to see if I have the 12 volts for the SID chip, sorry, and also 5 volts for, you know, all the other chips. But I don't want to risk blowing one of these custom chips in case the voltage is way off. So I'm going to take the custom chips, or at least the socketed ones, out of their sockets and set them aside, just to keep them from getting damaged. This chip here, this is an EEPROM. I thought it was a 2732, and that was really just a guess, but this is something else, and I don't remember exactly what it was off the top of my head. It was something like MCM 68779, something like that. Let me hold on a second. Let me grab that chip number so you guys are aware of it. I was looking online to get the pinout for it and to get the correct chip name so I could read it out, and I did. That information's out there. But interestingly and kind of handy, this chip, I guess you can still get them from, you know, eBay or whatever, used, I'd imagine. But other than that, I did find another website where a guy was selling a modern reproduction where he had made a small board to adapt a, I think it was a 28C256 or 28C128 to work with to work for this pinout. So you can get something to replace that chip, or more so, not to replace that chip, but to replace the original chips if you wanted to, without buying an original, you know, kernel or ROM or basic, or kernel or character or basic. But all right, one second, let me get that chip number. That chip is a MCM 68766C. I was able to program it with my work programmer, which is a BK Precision 866C, but I'm assuming that the USB programmer that all the YouTubers use is the TL866. I would imagine it's got that chip just as well. Now, obviously, I don't know if that chip actually does work in here, but we're going to find out here shortly if it does, hopefully. Okay, so obviously you can see I got all the chips out. Now I'm going to go ahead. I brought my C64 power supply and also the joystick and the SD to IEC and the video output cable over here to the bench, so I didn't have to keep jumping back and forth between here and over where all my Commodore hookup stuff is at in Little Cutie. So we'll see if we get any kind of voltage out of this guy. And if it's the correct kind of voltage, it's a more important thing, I suppose. so get that plugged in, power that on, the switch is off. Okay, now we have no indication either way or the other if anything's happening at all. I can tell you that it didn't blow the fuse on my power supply, so that's, you know, a good start. But we're going to check the 12 volts on the SID and also the 5 volts on the SID. So 12 volts on the SID is pin 28. That's U18, by the way. So ground is pin, what would that be, 14? And then VDD is what they're calling it, is pin 28, which is the last pin. And I got plus 12.3 volts DC. That's pretty good. Let me set this up here so you guys can see it. Do it again. Alright, and get down in there. Okay, 12.3 volts. And then VCC, which is 5 volts, is pin 25. So 28, 27, 26, 25. And we're getting 5.092 volts. So the voltage is okay on this guy, which is good. I guess really the most logical thing to do then would be to go ahead and turn it on and see if we get anything whatsoever. So we're gonna flip the switch here and see what we get. Well, it has a signal at least, but it looks like, yeah, it would have been up by now. So we do in fact have a black screen C64, just like they said. So what I'm going to do right now is check with my finger just for thermal, you know, just to see if I can feel any kind of heat on any of these chips. See if I can cook my finger. And so far I don't feel much heat at all on anything other than the VIC has a little bit of heat coming out of it. The processor seems pretty dead cold. And let's see, the ROM on the right might be putting out a little bit of heat. It's not a whole lot. Maybe. Can't really tell. If it is, it's very little. I think it is putting out some heat. Okay, here's the SID. The SID's getting warm now. It's not screaming, but it's warm. Ooh, the PLA is very warm. So I'm guessing it's going to be as simple with this one as a bad PLA. But I just shut the power off. I have a spare PLA, so we might as well chuck it in there and see what we get. Okay, so I got that chip in. Let's flip the switch and see if we get any kind of change. Ooh, nothing. Well, that's not a good sign, is it? Got absolutely nothing with that PLA in there. I'm just going to hit it a couple times, make sure it's not the switch or something. Yeah, absolutely nothing. Huh. Well, that's not a good sign for this chip. Let me put the other one back in and see if I get the same thing that it was doing before. It should still put a video, it should still put a signal out, I think, with the, as long as the VIC's there and its clock generation circuitry is there, and it is. Okay, so I just put the original PLA back. Let me flip the switch, see if it goes to the screen. No. So that's odd. Now we're getting nothing. How bizarre. I wonder if the switch is failing on this machine. I checked the fuse, it's fine. Nothing else has changed. I'm going to go ahead and pull the SID. We don't need it to boot up. That way, in case there's any kind of issues, we don't kill it. I'll pull the SID out and put it back in once we get further along the chain. Alright, I'm going to try it again, although I don't think the SID was stopping it from booting. But it can, so it's worth a shot, I guess. Yeah, nothing. Well, in that case, okay, it's on. Let me I'm just going to check and make sure we still have the correct power lines. Alright, so we got the view back. I'm going to power up the machine. It's still plugged in to video, and the power is still plugged in. The power supply is still hooked up. That's the only thing I've changed, is moved you guys down. But alright, so there's power. Let's see if we still get our 12 volts and our 5 volts. We do not. Look at that. 12 volts is out. And 27, 26, 25. 4 is low. So something is wrong here. Something has changed while we were doing this stuff. Okay, let's see, where do I want to go? Let me start taking the let's start taking the custom chips back out and see if our voltages return. I don't see the fuse doesn't appear to be blown. I'm wondering if the switch is messed up. It's a little crusty. It's a pretty common failure point. But anyway, let's first, I got it turned off, but I'm gonna unplug the power just to be safe. It could be a bad connection on this power connector too, honestly, because it feels loose. Yeah. We'll pop the custom chips again, and if that doesn't change it, I'll take this out of its case and just double check the solder joints over there in the power circuitry. But let me pop the VIC, and then we'll test it again. And then I'm just going to remove them one at a time. I guess I should start with the PLA because it was pretty warm. As in, it was hotter than it should have been. Come on. Okay, there's the PLA. Here's that other one, by the way. And it's possible that this thing may have blown the 12 volts out, because I mean, you saw it went to black screen originally, and then when I put that PLA in, then it didn't do anything. So it's possible that PLA, maybe it's fake or something. That would be unfortunate. I don't think that's the case. Like I said, I didn't get that from like eBay. That came from some guy's website who sells like arcade parts, things of that nature. So I would hope that he's not out there, you know, hawking fake components, because it wouldn't take that long to destroy his reputation. So I really doubt that's what's going on. I'm going to assume, at least for now, that that PLA is a correct PLA and a functioning PLA. But all right, so there's your PLA, the original one, back out. Fire up the power supply again, or fire up the C64 again. The screen is still blue, but I don't know if it would even pull up a black screen without the PLA. I'm not sure on that. 0.7, sorry, let me put this over here so you guys can see what I'm looking at. 0.7 volts, no 12, and then you got 27, 26, 25. Now the 5 has returned more or less. It's a little lower than we initially measured, but that we also have more of the custom chips in here that we didn't have before. So this very well could be the correct voltage. It's just like, you know, 0.1 volts lower than it was. Not even 0.1, just 0.05, maybe something like that. Okay, all right. It's out of its case. So, excuse me. What I want to do now is just check the switch without power, just to see if we're getting a switch. All right, so it's in the off position right now, and those are both passing through. Here, let me grab the meter so you can see it again, sorry. And there you go. Okay. So this is the normally closed side, or not normally closed. This is the side that's closed when it's off. And then here's the other side, both showing, well, that one's showing 1 ohm, 0 ohms. That could be my leads as well, if there's any very low resistance. My leads here are a little beat up. All right, so flip it. Sorry. This is the on position. Now this side should be connected, and it is. And this side is, but it's showing more resistance than all the other ones. It should not be. Let me just check this one again. Yeah. Check my leads. Yeah. So we do have some resistance there, although I don't know that that would cause it, but it's possible. Let me let's touch it up real quick. I think I'll go ahead and just take it out. And then maybe I can clean up those legs a little bit. And if not, then I'll just grab another switch to throw in there just to eliminate that problem. I still need to finish pulling the rest of the custom chips until I get my voltage back, but it could be that this switch is why we're not getting that voltage back. So let's deal with this first and then go from there. Let me take this out real quick. All right, try to get an extreme close-up. I took the switch off and this is what I found underneath. There's corrosion there and it looks like rust right there, but it could be flux residue or something. But then you have corrosion on the plunger right there, just corroded all the way around this housing. So I may just go ahead and put a different switch in here. I don't have any of these new. I suppose I could get some, but I'm gonna take one. I'm gonna borrow one off of one of those other machines. Let me grab that, put it back in, and we'll go from there. Okay, I took the power switch off and I got another switch from one of the 407 boards that was already missing. It was the 407 board that was missing its PLA and its, excuse me, SID. When I took the switch off, there was a little bit of looks like water damage. I don't know if you can see that or if you can tell, but inside of these holes and then these the through holes themselves have some signs of water damage. So I'm also gonna take the power connector off since it's right next to it. And then also worth noting that these two holes, sorry if I could point at them, these two, the back two, they're not used. They don't have a trace going to them on either side. And this is only a two-sided board. There's no, it's not 4 layers. Let me get my camera, or let me get my light turned back on. Hold on. I switched tips. I have the number 4 tip on here. Just easier to get around these bigger pins, or even just capable of getting around them in general. I don't know, I suppose I should look real quick what pins I need to be taken off here. I just want to see if there's any water damage under the power connector. Okay, so this one for sure. Obviously I don't want to give it too much heat. I don't want to damage the traces or the pads. Yeah, that one is still connected, but I think I just bumped it free. Alright, yeah, it's loose now. Okay, there we go. Those pins are kind of short and kind of thick. Makes them a little tedious to desolder. I do see what looks like the slightest bit of corrosion on the bottom of these, but it doesn't look too bad. So I'm guessing that the top side's going to be okay. And yeah, it looks good. Can you see that there? Yeah, I apologize for the light. My light is barely on now. But that looks fine. So this is the only real thing we need to be concerned with right now. Obviously there could be and probably is water damage under these two, but as long as it's not power trace being disconnected under there, it's not really going to be that much of an issue. So we just need to get these two pins cleaned up. And I want to see if this stuff's going to crack off of there. Yeah, it does. So that stuff that was in there, it just kind of fell off when I touched it. Same with that. So that's solder that's, you know, turned into an oxide of some sort. I'm gonna put some fresh solder in those holes, and hopefully the flux will help it melt that stuff up and get it out of there, so a good connection can be made all the way through the board. Yeah, you can see that it does not want to take solder, but I'll let the flux kind of do its thing and try to force the solder into that through hole until it grips. I might need to clean it off with some oh my goodness, glass fiber pen. There you go. Sorry, I'm having trouble with English apparently. Yeah. So it's possible. I don't think this was the problem. If anything, I think it would be that switch more than this. But this trace, if the connection wasn't getting through all the way, then this trace may not have been connected to the switch, or it may have been connected through a large amount of resistance, or even a small amount of resistance. It doesn't have to be a large resistance to cause an issue. All right, let me suck that solder back off. And then I want to kind of scrub it with the fiberglass pen. This is going to remove some of the solder mask, but that's fine. I'll replace it once the machine is ready to roll. It's going to be kind of hard to get the inside of that through hole. That's one issue, but they do look, let me get a closer look. They do look better. We could check their connection from the other side. It'd be kind of tricky, but I think we can do it. Let me zoom out a little bit. I'm gonna take these surface mount tips off of this meter real fast. Can you see the screen? Yeah. Okay, first of all, we'll go ahead and check from here to say here, and that's good. And then from here, I'm trying to just touch the outside of the pad, not the trace. And that's good. Now the tricky part's going to be measuring through is what I want to do. So I'll touch the trace on this side and then the pad on the other side. You're probably not going to be able to see me doing this like at all, but the angle and the finger gymnastics is a little tricky. Alright, that looks okay. And then to the other one. And there. Yeah, so that's fine. If I have to, I'll put a little solder on from the top side if I can. I don't know if I can reach those when the switch is in place, but we'll try. Okay, I'm gonna tack these in, or not these. I'm gonna tack the power supply or the power connector in, and then I'll tack in the switch, and then I'll solder them both completely. So I don't use the like blue tack or whatever. I just hold it. Excuse me. I just hold the component flush to the board, get some solder on the iron, and then try to get it to flow on one of the pins, or two of the pins, ideally. So there, I got it. It's connected in two places. That will hold it until I solder it the rest of the way. And sorry, I'm going to use the desoldering iron again to solder these, just because they got a pretty good chunk of thermal mass. But I'm gonna clean the flux off right around that real quick. It wouldn't be a bad idea to just put a little bit of flux on the top side there to help it flow through, hopefully, but I don't think it's going to be necessary. I think this will get through okay. You can see the little glass fibers right there. The ones that will undoubtedly end up in my arm and in my fingers. Okay. Alright, so I guess I got kind of lucky and kind of unlucky at the same time. Out of all those machines, the only other one that had a switch that was the same size housing was the machine that was also missing its PLA. So I took it out of that, but I got unlucky in the fact that that machine seems to have some, well, it had some mice poop in it for sure, but it also looked like there was either oil or mouse pee or both on the top side by the switch. So I cleaned it up with alcohol and also contact cleaner, and I checked it, and it's measuring okay. So I'm gonna put it in and then start back over from scratch, basically, right? So let me get this guy in there. It did measure fine, so if I have any measurement issues, it's going to be board stuff, not switch stuff. Let me make sure I get this in all the way. if it even fits. I hope it does. Let me check. Yeah, it clears that inductor. It's fine. I checked it. I mean, when I took it out, I checked to make sure it was the same size as the other one, and it was, but I didn't know if there was something on the bottom that could have, you know, caused some issue. But that one was a 250-425 board, and I would like to get all the 425 boards working. The 407 board is fine, but it's nice on the 425 board that you know, it doesn't have as many parts, and it's got some minor improvement type issues. And I can't remember off the top of my head if the 407 one still has like the VIC, the clock generation chips, or multiple clock generation chips, like the circuit, or if it's got the more cost reduced and complication reduced version where it's just the single multi-vibrator that does everything. I'll better solder in my power supply or power connector too, since I haven't done that yet still. Okay, for this I'm going to use the desoldering iron to get more thermal mass or thermal throughput, and just try to make sure that these sync to the other side, especially on the switch, since it has that minor damage on the top side. Okay. And I suppose I'll just go ahead and touch up the power switch since I've got this in my hand. Sometimes if you're using a desoldering iron to solder, it can make the solder go through the board a lot easier if you just take it and put it on top and jiggle it as if you were going to desolder with it. I guess because it's opening up the hole all the way around by moving the pin, it can help the solder get through to the other side, especially on stuff that has like a lot of thermal mass. So let me go ahead and do that on the switch just for good measure. I'm just going to wiggle them, put a little bit more solder on them, and then wiggle them as if I were desoldering them. Can you guys see? Yeah, okay. Didn't know if you could see. Yeah. And that should help get it to the top side. Just to help ensure a better connection, since this had that water damage or pee damage or whatever was up there. I'm going to tell myself it was water, but probably not. Probably some delicious mouse pee. Yeah. I got full penetration. It actually doesn't look great, but I'm okay with that. I can fix that later. And more importantly, for the time being, it's going to be functional. It's just, it's got too much solder on the top side now. I want to plug it in and see if there's any change from before, now that we got our voltages in place, or now that the switch isn't messed up. Okay, power's off all the way around. This switch doesn't even feel great itself, but it's still hot, so we'll see. It felt better before I put it in there, but I'm going to order some and replace the ones I stole with new ones. Okay, power supplies, power switch is on. Alright, I got the surface mount probes back on the meter. Let's see what we get. Fire in the hole, as they say. Okay, it's on. Nothing blows up, so that's always a good sign. Ground, again, we're measuring on the SID socket. Pin 28, VDD should be 12. And there it is. Okay, and then 25 is VCC. So 28, 27, 26, 25. And 5, yeah. So it was just the switch, which is good. That doesn't mean that that's going to fix it. But now, basically, I'll go ahead and put the chips back. Actually, I won't. I'm going to leave the SID out. It doesn't need to be in there right away. I'll put it in after it boots, if it boots. But I'm going to put the original PLA back in, just to make sure that it didn't like lose its power when it came on, and mess the PLA up. But if the PLA gets smoking hot again, which I assume that it will, then we'll switch to that other PLA and see what happens. Okay, power off. make sure you put them in the right direction. If not, there's a good chance you'll destroy them. Doesn't always break them, but a lot of times it does. And then also make sure that you put them in the right spot, because they move these two around throughout the revision several times. But U18 is always the SID, and U17 is always the PLA. Here we are back to the TV. I got the data, the video cable plugged in, the original PLA. There we got our video signal again, which we weren't getting before because of the power was out, but still nothing. And let me just check and see what the PLA is doing, because it was getting hot. Let's see. It's not, yeah, it's getting, I mean, it's getting warm. It's not like scary hot. It's not like gonna cook your finger, but it's getting there actually. Yeah, it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter as my finger stays on it. Okay, let's, I'm gonna throw the replacement PLA in and see if we get anything different, or if we still get just a black screen, and then we gotta maybe pull out the oscilloscope and go further. Alright, chuck this guy in there. Come on. If this doesn't work, it might be worth trying a different PLA from one of his other machines, just because, again, I don't know that this is a good one, which is unfortunate. But there's power on with the new PLA. Yeah, there you go. It's fixed. Man, you guys can't see that, can you? Let me shut the flash off on this. I had like the light. There you go. And that's what that guy did to it. I assume those colors are correct. It says, "Welcome to UNI Electronics. Sit and enjoy." And then what's it say there? 38,911 in free memory. Ready. I don't have the keyboard hooked up, so I can't see if that's working, but it seems to be functional, so that PLA is good, so that's cool. I'll have to get another one or two of those. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to shut it off real quick, and I'm going to grab a different kernel just to make sure that it's got the correct colors and everything. Just shut that off, and then 1 second, let me grab another kernel ROM. Alright, I cleaned up the edge connectors because they were pretty rough looking, but I have my SD to IEC hooked up. It's set to device 9, and I put the SID back in, and I need to hook up the video, or we're not going to see much. Oh, and I need to hook up my joystick too. And then I hooked up the keyboard that was on this machine that came with it. Also, I was noticing, I'll show you here in a minute, I think the bottom case that this machine was in is correct, because it's got bolts going through the bottom case that I've never seen on any of the other revisions. So I'm guessing this is the correct bottom case. It's just the silver label top case got lost, which is sad, but it's all right. Okay, joystick is in port 2. Fire in the hole. Oh, and I put the other kernel back in, the standard kernel. And what do we get? Nothing. All right, hold on. Make sure I didn't miss something. Let's see. Oh, well, hold on a second. I did put the SID back in. Man, I hope the SID's not bad. They will sometimes stop the machine from booting. That could be that kernel ROM too. Hopefully it's that, but I just took the SID out. See if it boots. No. Nope. Okay. Well, that may be a good thing. I wonder if I should check voltages again though, because looking at the power LED, it looks kind of weak. And then the other thing that I'm thinking about now is I wonder if this kernel is compatible. This is a kernel, I took it from a 250425 board, the same one that I took the switch from. I don't think there was any compatibility issues with the kernels, but let me just check this pin to make sure it's got connections. Let's see, I got my SD to IEC hooked up. It seems to be hooked up the right way. I didn't put anything backwards or any of that. Okay, let me put his custom kernel back in real quick, and the SID is still out, by the way. and see what it does. Fire and hole. Let's see if it boots with that. Yeah, so his custom kernel's working. Well, let me see if the SD-IEC will load. It could just be that that kernel's bad. But before I do the load, let me put the SID back. I'm really hoping it's not bad. As you guys know, like they're getting really, really rare. Now I should have a few working ones here. I would hope anyway. Out of those 10 machines, well, eight SIDs. No. 9 SIDs, sorry. Okay. Fire in a hole again with the SID and with the custom kernel. Might just need to clean the pins on that kernel chip I took. Okay, so it's booting with the SID. That's cool. Let's see if we can get it to load. Oh, this keyboard is crap. Like I said, this is just the keyboard that came with it, so got to kind of beat it to get it to work. Load FB64 comma, did I get the comma? Yes, 9. Oh, I didn't put my fast loader in. I should have done that, but that's okay. It looks like it found it and it loaded. Go ahead and run that, or hard type run. Okay. Looking good. The video doesn't look bad either for being, this is composite. Obviously, I didn't mention it, but I'm sure most of you or all of you know, this revision of C64 doesn't have the S-video. So I'm going to test the SID with Donkey Kong Arcade, because that's probably the one I know the most. I think it's the D64 one. Maybe not. Maybe it is the PRG. Well, let's see. Oh, yes, it's going to take a minute because I don't have the fast loader. So stand by. Pumped that it's working like this. I'm guessing the kernel, the pins on this kernel are dirty, and they kind of do look a little corroded. Not bad, but could be enough to not make connection in those crappy sockets. Okay, well, it did load and boot, but this is not the one I wanted. Hold on a second. Let me grab the fast loader so I don't have to keep waiting. There we go. L-O-A-D. Load. Oh, got 2 of those. FB64. I have the other ones on there, but I think it's easier to just type the actual one, or at least as easy. Okay. All right. Faster. Run. Okay. So it's the no, it's the PRG, right? I clicked on the D64 before, so I need the PRG file, and this will only take a second with the fast loader. See if the audio works. Cross your fingers. Awesome. I don't hear anything that sounds wrong there. Alright, fantastic. We'll just see if the joystick left, right, and all that works. Space, no, enter, no, F1, no. Oh, we might be missing a, it's not taking the button input, but that's actually kind of odd because I used that button already, but I'm not getting any read-in on that, so we might have a button problem. Oh, it's left or right. I'm sorry. Oh, good. That scared me a little bit. Okay. The video looks pretty good for being, you know, composite. Alright, Jumpman, let's do this. But, yeah, I'm not going to actually, like, play through. I suck at this game. I'm not much of a gamer, by the way. I like these things more for just tinkering with electronics than I do any kind of gaming. Oh, kill Jumpman. But, yeah, so that's all good. Everything seems to be working. Let me power this down. Excuse me. I'm gonna try to clean the kernel pins, and then we'll see if that works. Hold on a second. Well, this was kind of interesting. My phone died. First of all, I hope I didn't miss any footage. My phone was at like 4%. I didn't notice the screen was really dim when I was recording that last part, but it seemed to still be recording. And then when I stopped the recording, it died like immediately. So hopefully I didn't lose any of that. But I got a kernel ROM out of the 250425 board, and it didn't work. You guys saw that. So then while I was recharging the phone, I cleaned the pins on that and set it in there and turned it on. It didn't work. I thought that was odd, but then I thought, well, you know, could be a bad ROM chip. So I went and got another ROM, same version, 03, so the revision 3 ROM or whatever you would call it. I got that from another machine. I put it in there, still didn't work. And then I was thinking, like, well, you know, this is bizarre. I wonder if there's a compatibility issue or something. I tried looking online. I didn't see any compatibility issues. But then I thought, like, well, first of all, it's working with that custom ROM. You guys saw that. So I thought, you know, it's kind of odd. It's working with this one, but it won't work with the regular one. So I thought maybe it was a power issue. Like maybe since I had the SD to IEC and the fast load cartridge plugged in, that maybe it was drawing more power, and that the Commodore chip was just drawing a little bit more, so it couldn't boot. So I took all of them out and put it in, and it worked with the 22703 ROM, the Commodore ROM. And then I started putting stuff back one after the other, and it worked again. So my conclusion, I guess, is that it was probably the cartridge port having a bad connection, was messing up something that is apparently different between the two, between this modified ROM and between Commodore's ROM, or maybe it was a power thing. I'm not sure, but here, let me show you. There you go. It also seems to boot kind of fast, but that might be normal. Just seems a little quick to me. But let me see, since we got the regular ROM here, make sure we can load from the SD to IEC. FB64 9. So everything's plugged in now. The fast loader you can see, and the SD to IEC is plugged in. See if it works. We got it. See if we can run it. Just make sure. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess it was just something. I'm either going to replace the. I didn't plug my joystick in. I'm not going to plug it in hot. But yeah, you can see it's working. I'm not gonna. Lost my train of thought. Sorry. I'm not gonna hot swap the joystick. I don't want to risk frying anything. But yeah, it seems to be fully functional now. I need to figure out what I'm gonna do with the top case. I'll probably keep the original ROM version in here, but as kind of a like an homage or in honor of the guy that these belong to, I might keep one of them with his custom ROM, but I'm not gonna do it with this one just because it's a Rev A. I'd like it to be original. I'll do it with one of the 250 425 boards once I get them fixed. So just a small recap. The problems with this board, first was the PLA was hot, so I decided to swap it. And then when I put the new one in, the one that I got from that website, it didn't do anything. We weren't even getting the black screen. It was doing nothing. So we checked voltage. The voltage was low. I was getting like, I can't remember exactly. I think it was like 1.4 on the 12 volt side, and then like 0.5 on the 1 volt or on the 5 volt side. So then I started looking around and saw the switch, decided to do the switch because it had corrosion on the legs. And then when I took it off, I noticed they had quite a bit of corrosion on, on the housing itself. You saw that. So then I replaced the switch, and unfortunately the first one I tried was too physically large, wouldn't fit in this revision. So I found the only other one I had that was this size, put it in, and that fixed the power issue. But it still didn't boot up with the original PLA, and when I checked it, it was hot, like too hot. So then I put in my replacement PLA, and it fired up with the original kernel ROM. Or not the original kernel ROM, I'm sorry, with its original kernel ROM, which was the modified kernel ROM from the guy that owned these. So then I tried to put in an original Commodore kernel ROM, and it wouldn't boot. And then through a little bit of messing around off camera, it seems that that was just a connection issue with either the SD to IEC or more likely the cartridge slot. But now it's back to where it should be, and seems to be fully functional. Let me shut it off, turn it back on. Yeah, so Commodore 64 saved from the grave. It's a revision A, so it doesn't have the best audio or video quality, but it's really not bad, honestly. I posted about this one on Facebook, and the replies I got kind of made it seem like it was going to have really horrible video output, and I believe that because they didn't have everything ironed out yet. This was like the original rough draft, so to say, of the board of the electronics, and you would assume that they improved it over time with the revisions that they did. But other than the fact that this doesn't have S-video, it works fine. I mean, the video looks great for being composite, and that's without recapping or any of that. I'm not going to recap it. It seems to be working. If ever it's messed up and I feel that's necessary, I will, I guess, but I'm going to leave it as is for now, close to as original as possible. I'll go through and clean this board up, and then figure out the case issue, whether I'll probably look for a silver label top case, but chances are I'm not going to find one, but I'll take a look. If I can find one, I'll get it, and then I'll clean it all up and clean the bottom up, retro-bright it if I need to, and then it'll be a collector's item, display piece of sorts. It's not going to be my main C64, I doubt, but it's cool to have just because of what it is. It's history. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. We got it working. Basically, it came down to a bad switch and a bad PLA. Not anything super exciting in the C64 repair world. They're pretty common issues. Not the switch as much, and the switches do fail, and I've seen it more than once on videos and stuff, but this one failed for a different reason. Oh, by the way, this is the first C64 I've ever fixed too, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, I'm really excited that that I got it going. But all right, to everybody that likes and subscribes, I appreciate it. I really do. It helps get the channel out there a little bit. I've got more subscribers. I picked up a few here and there. I don't have a bunch by any means, but I'm happy that even some people want to watch the channel. So yeah, you guys that are liking and subscribing, or if you're telling your buddies, I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.